You don't really know me, you just know my avatar. I'm the ghost with the most, no flow, at the East Coast. You follow me if you a dirty young creep goat. Motherfuckers really wanna be a dandy boy. You hoppin' trans, poppin' sayings, but you know, boy.
It is with a heavy heart that I regret to inform you that today's episode will not be curated by Undead Meowth. Have no fear, this is just a short interlude in the current mini-series on Pastor David Berzins. You see, I was browsing YouTube and I ended up on Eric Hernandez's channel. On there, he has an advertisement for Frank Turek's book on how atheism requires faith to believe that there is no God. I will try to refrain from arguing against the book. I don't have enough faith to be an atheist, and focus more on this video itself. That being said, my name is Rotded. Let's jump right into the news.
We're here with Dr. Frank Turek of Cross-Examined. You can find him at crossexamined.org. Author of many books, goes on college campuses all around the nation, the country, anywhere he's invited, he's going and representing Christianity, showing why Christianity is true.
I feel as though I might have to look into this deeper. I have yet to see any credible evidence that Christianity, let alone any religion, is true. Then again, we're talking about Frank Turek, so of course it's not going to be anything substantial, just a bunch of strawman arguments.
Now, Frank, you have a book called I Don't Have Enough Faith to Be an Atheist. Do atheists have faith, or?
The answer is no. Same energy.
Well, it depends on what you mean by faith. The culture's definition of faith is believing something when you don't have any evidence for it. And I think atheists have to have a lot of faith then.
Well, I'm certainly glad that Frank Turek agrees that faith means a belief without evidence. Shockingly, Eric Hernandez repeatedly denies the claim that faith means a belief without evidence. So much so that he has 2 debates with Aaron Ra, and in the second debate even admits he's wrong, yet still continues to defend the notion that faith is not belief without evidence. Due to what I'm referencing being over an hour long, I will be linking it in the description down below for you to go check on your own time.
Because they believe in a lot of things for which I think there's counter evidence. They believe in materialism. I think that things aren't just made of molecules. I think there's an immaterial realm.
Good for you. I'm really glad that you believe that there's an immaterial realm. I don't know how you plan on proving that. That being that if it's immaterial, it cannot be interpreted by materialistic things. And as we humans are mostly made out of matter, and the world around us is made out of matter, I don't understand what your level of measurement is for things like spirits. Though I really must wonder if you're just afraid of ghosts. Though I'd like to point out that this has nothing to do with being an atheist. For example, Buddhism is an atheistic religion that still believes in spiritualism. You can be an atheist and believe in immaterial things. The only thing atheism entails is not believing in a god. Remember how I said Frank Turek likes to strawman his opponents? However, even when he does, he still does a piss-poor job of debunking the arguments. So I guess this is a form of Iron Manning. Because if Frank Turek's only evidence for there being immaterialistic things in the world is, I just feel like there is, who fucking cares?
They think that macroevolution's true. I think there's evidence against that.
Notice how, again, he says, I think there's evidence against it. It's almost like he's afraid of making a positive claim. So, Mr. Turek, you think there's evidence against evolution? And yes, I'm throwing out the term macroevolution in favor of evolution because evolution is evolution. Scientists have found countless transitional species and entire gene lines that result in modern-day animals. That includes humanity. Rather than holding your hand through the entire fossil record, I'm going to be linking a video down below by Ben G. Thomas, which is the first of a 3-part series on how cetaceans evolve. Really quite fascinating how we have such a well-documented case of speciation. I know your type, Turek. You do the Kant-Hovind thing where you say microevolution happens, but macroevolution doesn't. Despite the fact that microevolution is speciation over a short amount of time, and macroevolution is speciation over a long amount of time. You may say that a fruit fly that's been bred without wings is still a fruit fly, it's still of the same kind, but I really want to see your justification for a hooved carnivore turning into what is essentially a mammal equivalent of a fish. What kind does that fall under? But before we continue, again, I need to point out the fact that this has nothing to do with atheism. Again, atheism is the rejection of a belief in God. Atheism is a negative claim essentially saying, I do not believe there is evidence for a God. I have no idea why you are bringing up evolution to try to disprove that there is not enough sufficient evidence to prove that there is a God. What started out as trying to prove atheism wrong has now become trying to prove atheism, evolution, and materialism wrong. Frank Turek, are you a masochist? Because really, you are making a lot more work for yourself.
They think there are no objective moral values. There's nothing more apparent to me that torturing babies for fun is wrong, and yet many of them will deny that.
What in the fuck are you talking about? I don't know who you're talking to, but maybe don't get your information on atheists from the psych ward. And yet again, I have to bring up that this has nothing to do with atheism. Objective and subjective moralities are both philosophical lines of thinking. You can be an atheist and believe in objective morality. In fact, to believe in objective morality, you don't even need to believe in some oogity-boogity bearded voodoo man in the sky. There's a field of study called social evolutionism. This field studies how individuals within a species interact with each other. Things like murder and baby torture are probably not going to be favored by natural selection. What you're arguing against is the concept that there is no inherent good or evil in the world, and that for all intents and purposes, morality is subjective, which to a certain degree it is. Allow me to pose this question. Is it immoral to own a gun? Many people will have many different responses. Despite that, it's still generally considered that hurting people is bad. The rest of this video is just Frank Turek saying how he's the only arbiter of how to interpret the Bible correctly. I must say, it's impressive. It's like the king of all no true Scotsman fallacies rolled into one sweet joint. I must admit, it was really fun being let out of the crypt. Unfortunately, I must vacate the premises so Undead can continue working on his mini-series on David Berzins. That being said, Frank Turek might not believe in materialism, but I sure as hell do. So if you like what I do here, I please urge you to check the description down below for the link to my Teespring. We have designs so nice, they're to die for. That being said, my name is Rotded. Rest in pieces.
What can